Church, have you ever been on the phone with one of your friends who swore up and down that they needed to tell you something important? And they keep you on the phone for 1, 3, maybe 4 hours. And by the end of the conversation, when you're reflecting to yourself, you sit back and realize that they never told you anything worthy of consequence the entire conversation. That's what the damn Janet documentary parts 3 and 4 is giving me. I got my notes. I hope y'all got yours. Let's get on into this one. Y'all, I want to preface this by saying that I am glad that Janet Jackson got to tell her story in her own words, and I'm also glad that she told the people what she wanted them to know. However, I am mad that she has gooped A&E and Lifetime out their money and Tootsie rolled off into the sunset, revealing nothing of consequence and giving no new ground in this damn documentary. I'm also mad that she robbed me of these last 2 hours of my life that I can never get back. But with that being said, let's get on into this video. Now, I told y'all before, I had high hopes for these next 2 parts of the 4-part documentary, but unfortunately, I didn't really get a whole bunch of grand revelations. Once again, we are stuck with grand observations. So we're just going to continue on with that. So let's start off with MJ and his first allegation. So MJ's first allegation, apparently it derailed Janet's Coca-Cola deal and affected her career. Janet stands by MJ and she says that he didn't have that in him. She supported him with presence and the song Scream. Y'all, I really just want to talk about quickly just 2 parts of this. I feel that Janet supporting Michael through his, child pedophilia allegations that were waged against him, it sort of hurt her in 2 ways, right? It hurt her, number 1, because she was a Jackson. And, when you have a famous last name, you have to take the good and the bad that comes with it. You can't just always have the good. The bad will come. The rain will come sometimes and you have to deal with it. So I think it affected her in the fact that she was peripheral to the situation. She had nothing to do with it, of course. But since she was peripheral to it and she had the last name Jackson, she, in her own words, was guilty by association, number 1. And then number 2, it affected her a second time because she chose to support him, which is what she should have done as his sister and as someone who believed that he didn't do what it was being alleged that he did, right? But listen, sometimes in life you make concessions for family, and I think that's what Janet did in this circumstance. She believed her brother was innocent. She stood by him by being a Jackson, and she also stood by him by being, a very popular entertainer that had his back at the time. So though it hurt her career, I think in the long run, she's probably very happy that she did it, because I don't think there's any sort of instance where her not supporting Michael would have been an option. Now on to Rene Elizondo and the breakdown of that marriage, y'all. I got 3 points. Now, if you would recall from my last review of this, I thought that they would burn each other to the ground by having no separation in him being her lover and her secretary, okay? And him being the person she was married to and also the person that she was in business with. They burn each other to the ground. Nope, turns out the marriage broke down for 2 reasons. Number 1, honey, he became a junkie with a pill problem. And from back in James DeBarge days, she said, I did it, and I'm done, okay? I can't do people that do drugs no more. But I think it was also because he became very hyper obsessed with her look. Just making sure that she always looked like her videos whenever she was out in public, which, women's weight fluctuates. And I think that him trying to have such a tight control on her image really started affecting their marriage. And I sort of was wondering while I was watching it, y'all, how much of it was the pill use contributing to it, right? Because Rene was already a filmographer, videographer person, already concerned with the aesthetic, right? But pre-pills, it seems to be something that was favorable to her, worked in her business, and something that she enjoyed. But after the pills, perhaps it just created the hyper obsession where, the paranoia and the wanting to be perfect and the wanting to create perfection really mess with Janet. So that ended up triggering some emotional issues within her, and she became an emotional eater to cope with the issues that she was dealing with. Now, it wasn't directly as a result of Rene, because she already had these problems back in, when she was younger. Apparently, Michael Jackson used to tease her about her appearance and stuff. I don't think there's a story there, because brothers and sisters tease all the time. And she even said in her own admission, there was no malicious intent. But listen, things can happen in your adult life that take you right back to being 7, 8, 9, 10 and triggers the same issues. I really did marvel at the fact that, whenever people have stress, like they need some outlet to dissolve it, right? To get rid of it. Energy is never lost. It's just recycled in another way, right? So she took the stress that she was feeling in her marriage and her life and just trying to keep this perfect appearance up, and it turned itself into an eating problem, right? Where she would emotionally eat to comfort herself from the stuff that she was doing. Now, baby, it has been documented in media for years about Janet's weight struggles. In my mind, I liken her to Oprah Winfrey, who I am very, very convinced is a shapeshifter, honey, because y'all remember when Oprah was like 250, and then like 3 weeks later, Mama was 125, and you like, okay, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? What kind of TV magic is this? And Janet has the tendency to gain weight and lose weight and gain weight in the same yo-yo dieting type of spiral type thing. So I thought it was really brave of her. Well, I don't even know if it's brave. I thought it was really good of her to talk about it, right? Because when you're doing a documentary, you need to talk about all aspects, and Janet's weight has definitely been a topic of conversation. So good for her for talking about it. And then basically with him being, his pill addiction and the emotional issues and scars he was causing to her, then it ended up with the dissolution of the actual marriage, which became very difficult. Now, I bet it did, because listen, if this man was documenting her life for 5, 7, 9 years or whatever, and he was her creative director, and he was in charge of, her whole aesthetic and just how she was presented to the public, there's a lot of contribution that was there, right? And it becomes sort of hard to monetize what that is in terms of a legal process, because listen, if you're a producer on a song, then you could say, I wrote stanzas 1 through 5, I wrote the hook, I did this, that, and the third. If you're, working for somebody in a managerial or a assistant capacity, I helped her, on her day-to-day life, I did this, that, and the third, I enabled her to be who she became. It definitely, to me, becomes hard to separate what were your husbandly duties versus what were your duties that really help propel my career. Because when you're married to someone who is intertwined in both areas, one could say that you might have not done the same or had the same impact had he not been a driving force behind you. And so it's up to the legal system in that point to quantify what that means in terms of monetary compensation. So I'm sure it was very difficult to dissolve that marriage. And I'm also sure she probably paid him a very substantial check to make him go away, and probably an NDA, because he wasn't even in the documentary. But I guess you don't want to have, your ex-husbands in the documentary, which we will talk about later. Now, moving forward to the Super Bowl. Two main things here. She seemed to dance around the subject and whatnot, but what I wrote down, y'all, was she told Justin not to say anything, and she alluded it wasn't a stunt. Now, do I think that Janet telling Justin not to say anything absolves him of all wrongdoing in this case? Absolutely not. I will say that maybe he was respecting her wishes initially by not saying anything, but the fact that he kept silent while she was being skewered in the media, to me, speaks more to his character than anything, right? Because just because she's the elder statesman at that time to you and you respect her, doesn't mean that you don't have your own opinion and your own mind. So the fact that he never spoke out in favor of her always sit bad with me. And in terms of alluding it wasn't a stunt, that's where I'm sort of confused, because the running perspective in media was that it was so that Justin could one-up Britney, who was doing a whole bunch of kissing with Madonna and Christina Aguilera at the time, if y'all recall the MTV Awards at that time. So I always thought it was a stunt gone wrong, but according to Janet, it was just a complete accident. I don't really know how much of that I believe. They always say the truth comes in three parts. It's your side, their side, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. I know that costumes, in terms of when performers go on stage, they're meant to break away strategically so that when you go off stage to change, you can change very, very quickly and move from scene to scene. And it just seemed like a very odd area for him to pull if it wasn't some sort of stunt that was supposed to happen, right? So y'all drop down in the comments and let me know what you think. Do you believe Janet and that it was just a complete accident and was it planned? Or do you think that it was just a media stunt gone wrong? Perhaps we'll never really, really know for sure if she's going with this whole accident storyline. Now, moving forward to Jermaine Dupri, who ended up being a safe place to land, and he wasn't an addict after she had dealt with all those issues with Rene Elizondo. Now, baby, I am going to go up for Jermaine Dupri, and then I'm going to bring him back down. Because you never give somebody constructive criticism, or you never criticize somebody without telling them something good, okay? And then you got to tell them something bad, okay? So we're going to start on the good thing. Listen, the man wasn't an addict. He did right by her in the beginning, and he was a safe place for her to land after the drug addicts that she's been through and all the drama that she's been through in relationships. So he served his purpose. Now, the saying is always, you know, people are in your life for a reason or a season, and you mess up when you confuse seasonal people with lifetime expectations. Now, this is the problem that I have. Now, when the damn cameraman asks why the Jermaine and Janet relationship broke up, which I had completely forgotten about, but apparently it was due to two main reasons: cheating and career disparities. Now, listen. Obviously, Janet Jackson was trying to listen to Steve Harvey. For y'all that don't know, Google it down to the Googler. And Steve Harvey had said, if you want to have a long-lasting relationship, date an ugly man, okay? Now, I'm not trying to call nothing over Jermaine Dupri. I can only do, you know, my ABCs, my 1, 2, 3s, my Sesame Street, okay? But when you have James DeBarge, who in his heyday was fine, okay? And then you have Rene Elizondo, who in his heyday was fine. And then you have Jermaine Dupri. One of these things, children, is not like the other. And so I'm just like, if I'm Janet, I gave you a chance. I welcomed you into my kingdom, okay? And you were not the cutest man. And you gonna have the damn forthright, the damn gall to cheat on Janet Jackson, to cheat on me? How dare you, ugly man? Okay, how dare you? So it proves that sometimes Steve Harvey don't know what the hell he talking about, okay? Because the ugly man cheat on you, the pretty man cheat on you, and every man in between sometimes will cheat on you. And that has more to do with them than it has to do with the actual woman. So I want to make that distinction. And also, y'all, in terms of the career disparities, because it's never usually one main thing that ends a relationship, right? It's usually a combination of things, right? In terms of the career disparities, his career and his star was on the rise, right? Which led to the women being more interested into him, and the temptations from the cheatation basically taking hold at that point. So his career was on the rise, which meant that he was very, very busy. Her career wasn't on the downswing. It was just stagnant. It was just there, right? Because she was blacklisted in the media post Superbowl. And people weren't really checking for Janet like that, because when they blacklist you, it's sort of like everyone stays away because no one wants to be attached to scandal. So when you have one person in a relationship that's on the rise and the other person who's just here, it does create some problems. So couple that with the cheating. I'm glad she left that man. So moving forward to Janet having a baby at 50. Let me preface this by saying this. I think it's wonderful that Janet Jackson desired to have a baby, you know, around being 50. And that was one of the aspirations that she had for her life, that she went through and she persevered and she made it happen. That's wonderful, okay? My problem with the baby at 50, y'all, and it's not really even with the baby at 50. It's about the documentary documenting the baby at 50 and the story and stuff, okay? How you gonna talk about the baby Janet and not show us Issa at all, okay? You didn't even flash the damn Instagram photo from when he was yawning, when you first, had him and stuff and finally debuted him to the public. That's the problem that I have. Don't talk about the baby if you're not gonna show the baby. She showed maybe like a hand. I think I saw a hand and probably maybe an elbow or something, baby. Listen. Janet Titty was out in the cold air for longer than we saw Issa hand, okay? So I got a problem with that, okay? If you're going to tell the story, tell the whole damn story. And let's talk about how there was no talk of her Qatari billionaire ex-husband, Wissam Al-Mana, okay? Listen, if you going to drag all your damn exes through this biography and have, different segments talking about all of them, shouldn't you talk about this one as well? She was very mute on the damn father of Issa, their relationship, her moving over to, Qatar in the Middle East, her being swathed in black all the time, the relationship, the breakdown of it afterwards when they were getting divorced and all the drama. Like, there were so many stories that could have been told based on that. And so I'm just wondering why she stayed quiet on it, right? Was it out of respect for Wissam? Was it out of respect that her child may see this one day? Like, was it because, that man put a gag order and a root on her so that she can't talk about his name or she owes him some money? Janet, girl, blink twice if you can't talk about Wissam Al-Mana without having to pay him a check. Like, sis, make it make sense, right? It was almost like this documentary is her telling pieces, but then when you want more, she moves on to another subject. And that to me was the whole talk about the baby at 50. Now, in terms of just, Janet getting her flowers and redemption through the social media and the fans, I thought that was amazing to show. That eventually life is cyclical. It always comes around. Whenever you go down, you have to eventually come back up. And I think with the advent and the importance and ubiquity of social media basically being a champion for people that might have gotten the short end of the stick, Janet was able to be redeemed in the public eye and come back. Because listen, that Super Bowl stunt, I think, or just the Super Bowl issue, it got so much media coverage because of the time that it happened, right? And I think timing is so important. That was 10, 14 years ago at this point, right? And so today, I don't think somebody popping their titty out at the Super Bowl would really cause that much of a fuss. Honey, you between Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion, dropping it and spreading it wide on the damn award shows, we're a very sexualized society then. But I understand the shock that it created back then. I just don't think that she should have shouldered all of that on her own. So I'm glad that through social media and through people that love Janet coming to her defense, that she finally got her redemption and the flowers that she deserves, because we're always talking about legends dying and not getting their just due. And I do feel that she has gotten her just due, and she knows that she is loved and valued and respected, and that she has made an impact on the music industry, the world, and many people's lives. So good for Janet. But y'all, I think that's really all I wanted to say on these last 3 to 4 parts of the Janet documentary. So if you liked what I said, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on all social media at DatDamnDasher. And until next time, y'all, let this be a lesson to you. If you're going to tell the story, tell the whole damn story, okay? Don't run off with A&E and Lifetime money. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.